The tension across Europe is once again rising, and this time it's not just about words or sanctions. It's about military might being displayed on the borders of NATO. In the heart of Eastern Europe, Russia and Belarus have begun massive joint military drills, sending shockwaves across the continent. The message is loud and clear. Moscow and Minsk are ready to stand shoulder to shoulder, and the West is paying close attention. These drills, known as Zapad 2025, are among the largest in the region's recent history. Thousands of troops, tanks, fighter jets, and advanced missile systems are being moved into position. Satellite images show long convoys of Russian armored vehicles crossing into Belarus while Belarusian forces prepare their own units for coordinated maneuvers. The exercises are being described by Western intelligence agencies as a strategic message to NATO and possibly a warning. For Europe, this development couldn't have come at a worse time. The war in Ukraine has already destabilized the region, energy prices remain volatile, and public trust in long-term peace is fading. Now, with Russia and Belarus flexing their military muscles right next to NATO's borders, the fear of escalation has once again become real. NATO officials in Brussels have confirmed that Allied forces in Poland, Lithuania, and Latvia have been placed on a heightened state of readiness. Reconnaissance aircraft are flying daily patrols, monitoring every move across the Belarusian frontier. Poland's defense minister called it a dangerous show of force that cannot be ignored. Meanwhile, Moscow insists the drills are purely defensive. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, the purpose of Zapad 2025 is to train for regional stability and countering external threats, but Western analysts see a deeper message behind the rhetoric. Every time Russia conducts such large-scale exercises, it tests not only its weapons, but also the response time and unity of NATO. Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko, who has grown increasingly close to the Kremlin since the 2020 protests in his country, stood alongside Russian officers during the opening ceremony. He declared that Belarus would remain Russia's most loyal ally and warned the West not to interfere. His words drew applause from the troops, but in Europe's capitals they caused deep concern. Reports from Lithuanian and Polish intelligence suggest that parts of these exercises include simulated nuclear weapon deployments and the use of advanced drones near the borders of NATO states. Such maneuvers are not routine. They are designed to send political messages. Analysts believe the drills are also a test run for how quickly Russian and Belarusian units can coordinate in case of a real conflict. Adding to the tension, Lithuania accused both countries of violating its airspace earlier this week. According to Vilnius officials, unidentified balloons believed to be launched from Belarus forced a temporary shutdown of Vilnius International Airport. Lithuania called it an act of hybrid warfare, claiming that Moscow and Minsk were trying to provoke panic and test NATO's response boundaries. Both Russia and Belarus denied the allegations, calling them Western propaganda. But the situation grew even more complex when the United States confirmed that it had sent observers to the drills. The Pentagon stated that this move was in accordance with international agreements allowing limited observation of large military exercises. However, experts say Washington's decision to watch the drills firsthand shows just how seriously the West is taking this new show of force. Some European diplomats worry that the line between training and preparation is becoming increasingly thin. Over the past 2 years, Russia's military movements have often preceded real operations, from Crimea to Ukraine. Could Belarus now serve as another potential launchpad in the Kremlin's strategic plans inside Belarus state? Television broadcasts images of roaring tanks, low-flying helicopters, and soldiers cheering under giant Russian and Belarusian flags. The coverage portrays the drills as a symbol of unity and strength against Western aggression. Russian media echoes this narrative, emphasizing that NATO's expansion forced both nations to strengthen their defense cooperation. In response, NATO has begun conducting its own military readiness tests. Fighter jets from Germany and the UK have been deployed to Baltic air bases. In Poland, U.S. forces have increased patrols near the eastern border. Intelligence sharing among allies has intensified as officials warn that any misunderstanding near the borders could spark a crisis. Behind closed doors, diplomats are racing to prevent further escalation. The European Union's foreign ministers are set to hold an emergency meeting to discuss additional sanctions against Minsk and Moscow. Meanwhile, NATO's Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg reiterated that the alliance does not seek confrontation but will defend every inch of Allied territory. Experts note that these drills are not just about military tactics, they are also psychological warfare by conducting massive operations right on NATO's doorstep. Russia and Belarus are demonstrating that they can mobilize quickly and sustain high-intensity combat near western borders. This puts pressure on NATO governments to maintain expensive defense postures at a time when many economies are struggling. Furthermore, Belarus's growing dependence on Russia raises questions about its sovereignty. Since the 2020 protests and subsequent Western sanctions, Lukashenko has leaned heavily on Moscow for political and economic survival. Analysts believe that Russia has effectively transformed Belarus into a forward military outpost, expanding its influence deeper into Europe. This transformation is evident in the structure of the current drills. Russian generals are reportedly commanding mixed battalions that include Belarusian soldiers. Some of the systems being tested, like the S-400 missile defense and Iskander missile units, are under direct Russian control but stationed on Belarusian soil. This blurs the lines between the two nations' militaries, creating what experts call a shared command structure. In practical terms, that means if Russia were to engage NATO forces, Belarus would automatically be drawn into the conflict, and conversely, any NATO response targeting Belarus could quickly escalate into a larger confrontation with Moscow. For ordinary Belarusians and Russians, the mood is mixed. State propaganda portrays these drills as a patriotic duty, but online discussions reveal growing anxiety. Some Belarusians fear their country could be dragged into another war, while Russian citizens, already weary from economic hardships, wonder how long their government will continue prioritizing military displays over domestic welfare. European leaders, too, are trying to project calm, but their actions speak otherwise. Poland has accelerated the construction of its eastern defense wall. Lithuania is expanding its air defense systems. Even neutral countries like Sweden and Finland, both of which recently joined NATO, have begun joint patrols in the Baltic Sea. As analysts point out, the symbolism of Zapad 2025 goes beyond training. It represents a message from Moscow to the West. Russia is not isolated, and its alliances, especially with Belarus, remain strong. By aligning military, political, and psychological operations, Moscow seeks to demonstrate that it can still shape the European security agenda. However, this aggressive posturing also carries risks. Any accidental incident, a missile straying across the border, a drone entering NATO airspace, or a misinterpreted maneuver could trigger a rapid escalation. History has shown that large-scale exercises can sometimes spiral out of control, especially when tensions are already high. As the drills continue, Western intelligence agencies remain on high alert. Satellite surveillance, radar monitoring, and electronic tracking are all focused on Belarusian and Russian positions. Every move is being analyzed, every signal decoded, every flight logged. By the time Zapad 2025 concludes, analysts say Europe's security map may look very different. Whether these exercises remain a display of power or turn into something more dangerous will depend on how both sides handle the next few days. But one thing is certain, the era of calm on NATO's eastern frontier is over. As the sun sets over Minsk and Moscow's troops return to their barracks, the echoes of roaring engines and marching soldiers still linger in the air. For Europe, it's a reminder that peace is fragile, and that in the shadow of these war games, the line between defense and provocation is thinner than ever.